Have you guys ever heard of Warhammer?
Yeah, I know. Like, wait, do you mean fantasy or 40K?
40K.
I know a bit about 40K. I know more about Warhammer.
Well, the main thing you need to take away from it is that everything's fucked, basically. It's
Yeah.
very grimdark.
Yeah, that's like Warhammer, yeah.
So, I used to play with this kid that we basically babysit, named Jake, and we were friends and whatnot. But that was a long ass time ago. And so we played this game where we were playing as characters from Warhammer 40K, and he asked me. I was like, okay, I'll be Space Marines, I guess. He's like, which ones are the good ones?
None. You know what it was? When they tried to make a first-person shooter for 40K, not like the Space Marine game, but like it was called like Fire Warrior.
Oh, I played Fire Warrior.
Yeah, at that time in Warhammer 40K's like lore, the Tau were the most good guy race they could make.
The
So
Tau,
that was who you
the
played.
Tau were arguably the best, but the thing about the Tau is that they're authoritarian, and also they apparently brainwash other species.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, a
That's the whole
problem.
thing.
I don't think that they gave that information yet. Like when Fire Warrior came out.
I think maybe the Tau were good, and then they needed to make it. They were like, oh wait, we need this to be more grimdark. Let's make them more.
Yeah. The only reason I like fucking what's it called more? I like the fantasy one more now is because fucking Empire is like metal as shit.
Nice.
Because yeah, they're like the Space Marines and but like the Space Marines and shit.
Like the
But,
Space Marines.
Yeah, well, no, because like they would they in this world of like vampires and shit that are always trying to take over their land, they're like, yeah, let's just make guns and then kill the vampires with the guns and let's use it on everything else.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you though?
Well, someone made it through the end times, so I mean
Oh, somebody made it through the end times, I guess.
Yeah, the end times is like the event that kickstarts 40K. Is why? So
you're talking about the Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. So they fucking that's like the thing that kickstarted. And what's annoying is about that they fucking the Empire's like coolest like character I remember is like Balthazar Gelt, who's like a fucking mage who is covered in like gold. He like has a gold fucking head and shit. And
he's got style.
Yeah, no, he makes it to the very fucking end of like the end times, and then this vampire dude's like, hey, let's just like stab this guy in the back while he's like defending a barrier. And then this vampire overlord was like, no, dude, don't do that. Don't. And then,
Stop it. No.
Guy already did it. Barrier breaks, entire Chaos soldiers flood through, and the vampires get wiped out.
Oof.
Yeah, it's like they killed him off even though he was helping them.
I forgot, there is one thing. There's a good humanity side to Warhammer 40K. There's an empire of man that doesn't follow the Emperor. But the thing was, they were super weak. Because literally one guy decided to study a chaos weapon and ended up destroying the entire civilization.
Yep. That's normally what happens if they ever find anything chaos related.
Yeah.
It's like that. Because they aren't weeding it out.
Yeah, I guess to be fair, in that universe, it kind of makes sense that humanity would be a huge cult. Because if they're not, then they just get destroyed by chaos.
Yeah.
There's always the meme about Cadia stands.
Yeah.
Because it was literally an entire book about how cool the Imperial Guard are.
It's the one book. And that's like the one book they all remember.
Well, I did like the like symbolism that like literally the planet cracked before they broke line. But it's really stupid if you actually think about it.
Yeah, speaking of like Warhammer, the one thing that's not in fantasy that I really like about, well, like the one thing that is in fantasy that's not in 40k that I really like is fucking Skaven. Because, yeah, Skaven live. Okay, so like, look, every fucking city in like Warhammer, right? They all have like their shit going on.
Oh,
But then the Skaven just leech off of their sewers.
you're talking about the rat people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because not all of the races from Warhammer are in 40k.
Yeah, so like the lizards aren't in 40k, even though the lizards got off in a spaceship.
There's actually an interesting thing because they a lot of the races like dwarves, hobbit, or halfling, I guess. I think ogres, a lot of them didn't get transferred to 40k, but they have an in-universe, like not actual figures, but they have these things called abhumans, which is the fact that so humanity spread among the stars, but because they reproduce so much, there's going to be insane genetic drift between planets.
Yeah.
And so you got things like Ogirans, which are just ogres, and you got the squats that evolved on hypergravity, and that's the dwarves. You got the ratlings, which are just the halflings. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there was like an old concept art that someone showed me of like lizards or something in like full like 40k gear that was super cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was an old concept that they scrapped by the time they made it, but it was really cool. They were like super advanced out of like any of the races when I was looking at it.
I don't think they exist anymore. There's certain races they just stopped making, but there was literally a race of monkey people.
Yeah.
They were like genetically enhanced chimps.
I got really excited when Total War, it was like the Total War Warhammer shit was coming out, like the Warhammer 2 anyways, because they took one like vampire unit that they had from like an old concept thing that was just like a vampire wearing like a pirate bandana, and then they made it into an entire faction of just vampire pirates. And that's like and there are people that just fucking love the vampire pirates and shit.
I would love the vampire pirates.
Yeah. And so like all the like in at least Total War for like the vampire people and shit, in that version of Warhammer, they all have like a same goal in game, but then there are just the vampire pirates who are just like, yeah, let's go plunder for treasure, and our end game is we're just gonna get a kraken. We're gonna kill the kraken and make it undead, and that's what we're gonna do. And then they do that.
Say, I didn't play fantasy, but I know a lot of the Warhammer fantasy races because of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, honestly, I still think my favorite out of fantasy, like out of anything, is the Empire, because it's just like the weird shit that the Empire has going on.
The Empire, man, is just fucking weird.
Yeah, because they have to find weird ass ways to survive.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you lived in a world with like actual vampires and shit, I feel like culture would be very different when you have basically an entire cast of man-eaters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like, it would kind of make sense that there's some weird... humanity, all that's left of humanity is some weird-ass cult.
I think in fantasy, the closest thing you'll get to good people are like the Frenchies, the people that look like Frenchies.
The Frenchies? What?
Yeah, there's like there are two different...
They have all of the races, English, Scottish, French.
yeah, because the Norska are a thing. I totally forget about the Norska because they're just like Viking people, but there's like...
To be fair, the dwarves are pretty much just like Northern European.
Yeah, but what's funny about like what was it? Those people, they're like Grail Knights. In fucking Total War, they are ass, because I remember in Total War just them being like absolute shit, and then I remember, man, this is why nobody talks about this faction of people, because they're just not that great. I think they're called like Bretonians, and they their
Bretonians.
whole thing is based around cavalry and like
so-
some weird religion thing, and it's like they have Grail Knights.
Anglicanism.
Yeah, and what's funny about it is normally just everybody forgot about them because they just look like standard knights and stuff, while you have like the Empire who are comprised of peasants and like
Man, there's actually in real life. I don't know anything about this this like empire, but I never wanted to know more about an empire than the Teutonic Knights. They're literally just called the Teutonic Knights, and it was like a Eastern European country, and they don't exist anymore. They probably actually just changed into another country we have nowadays. But like,
Teuton.
Fuck, that was a good name.
What if it was like Turkey or something?
No, it wasn't Turkey. That was the Ottomans. It was north from there.
I don't know if you know about this, Joe, but do you know about in the orcs? Do you know about Grom?
The god?
The god Grom, yeah.
Wait, I thought it was Gork and Mork.
No,
Like,
Grom.
They caught names.
No, Grom's like this basically hulking fat guy, and basically when he was like a young goblin, and fucking orcs were making fun of him for his size, and they were like, "Yeah, let's have him eat troll meat." And then when he ate the troll meat, he grew in size, and he's only getting bigger.
Well, he's like, how big is he now?
Yeah, he's fucking huge. I think there is there's only like 2 races I can think of as like contenders for the quote unquote good guys in like Warhammer.
Tau is one of them, honestly.
In 40k, Tau is like the one you get closest to, but it's weird.
They have problems too, though.
Yeah. The ones I'm thinking of in Warhammer Fantasy are fucking the elves, the fucking high elves or some shit, where they like.
Of course, they tell you they're the best.
Yeah, they'll tell you, but then like sometimes the dark elves are better.
I like that the modern interpretation of high elves is just they're racist.
Yeah,
that's like the modern interpretation of them.
Yeah,
because they literally call themselves the fucking high elves.
Yeah, they. I like the wood elves though in Warhammer Fantasy because they're just tree people, and then they're like, then it's like, don't touch the trees. If you touch the trees, we're gonna kill you. And it's like, all right. And then some fucking guy accidentally chops down a tree.
He touched the fucking trees.
Yeah, he like chops down a tree, and then it's like, God fuck, and it's like, this is the one thing we told you guys not to do. Now we're fucking pissed.
were dark elves a thing in Warhammer, or was that D&D?
Dark elves were a thing in Warhammer.
Oh, that's right, because there's the Dark Eldar in 40k.
Yeah. The dark elves in Warhammer Fantasy are kind of weird because like there's this one guy who's just named the Shadowblade or something, and he just yeah, right, but he has like split personality disorder because he's like mixing with something and like fucking the shadows. It's weird.
Oh, he's probably a warlock, right?
He's like a fucking warrior, so not really. Like,
now, let me tell you of the origin of the Dark Eldar in 40k, because it is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So, basically, the Eldar control the entire galaxy at one point, and they automate everything, and so they basically all live lives of luxury. They end up basically having so many orgies and doing so much sex that they birth a chaos god out of it. That's the origin of the chaos god Slanesh. And then that chaos god ends up entirely just fucking destroying them. Some of them were unaffected for reasons. Some of them just died. And then some of them were turned into the Dark Eldar, which are basically just fucking crazy elves.
God, but I still think another funny like race in my opinion is the Tomb Kings. They're like the Necrons, but the Tomb Kings are like the reason that the fucking world ends in like Warhammer Fantasy.
Is Warhammer Fantasy part of 40k, or are they separate universes?
I think it's like, okay, Warhammer Fantasy ends with the end times, and I think the end times goes into 40k, but I think they're still separate because out of all the races that survive the end times, it's the lizards and like the Empire.
Okay, probably not, honestly.
Yeah, but I do think the Chaos still survive and stuff, but fucking...
Oh,
yeah.
No, actually, okay. I think they're separate universes because they're separate Chaos gods in 40k versus old. And
but
also,
there's still like stuff like Scene-Touch and stuff, which is like,
true.
Yeah, I think the characters of 40k, it depends on which one, but some of them are very, I guess, interesting. The Tomb Kings are like the reason the end times even happen in fantasy, because fucking because Tomb Kings are basically like Egyptian gods or something, and fucking people woke them up from their sleep.
No, that makes sense. That's pretty much their origin story in 40k.
Yeah, Tomb Kings got woken up. Tomb Kings got woken up, and they're really butthurt about it. So then they start raising skeleton armies, and then they start fucking creating more and more problems. And one of the Tomb King gods, once he got woken up, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make a god come out. Watch me." And then everyone was like, "You're not gonna do it. No,
he's not gonna fucking do it."
Yeah, he's not gonna fucking do it. And then it happened. But I think the worst was that the Chaos, one of the guys in the Chaos was like, "Yeah, no, there's no fucking way he's gonna do it." And it was like he got hit the worst because it was like it was some prince, and then there's like the high fucking dude in the Chaos who's like his dad, and fucking his son gets murdered, and then he's like, "No, my fucking retard son's still dead." No. His son's like a fucking retard. It's like, it literally, if anybody wanted to play Chaos, they'd play his dad. That's how fucking unimportant his son is.
You know, people make jokes about people who are actually retarded in real life, but when you actually meet one, it's just really awkward.
It's just sad. It makes me feel bad.
Yeah, it is, because my cousin's, he's not like that, but it's like his like he has like a mental thing with his brain, and it was like that like fucked him up.
Does he? Wait, sorry, what?
I was just saying that it was like his mental, it was like in his brain, something that happened. It was like a tragic event happened, and he now like has a perpetual mind state of like him being at 12 years old.
Jesus Christ. Like, okay, now that I am of the age that I am, I won't say older, I feel like I learned that there's a lot worse things than death.
I lost track because we got into talk about retards. Each other and like killing each other. But God.
Ashar, do you want to record this and just post a video on your channel, which is just us talking about Warhammer 40k lore for a long time?
Warhammer or Warhammer 40k, both of them just being talked about.